Hey, yeah, oh, 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 yeah.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. Now, this week there wasn't really anything major going on, or this past week, except for Christmas and all that BS. Bah humbug. It's just another day to me. Like, I could care less. It stopped being fun when, I was a kid. So, all I seen that people are bitching about is the whole thing with the, I think it's called H1B visa. And I agree with just about everybody else, most of the other YouTubers. We need to put Americans first and close our borders for a little while, like, several years, and concentrate more on getting our country back the way it needs to be. I don't have a problem with someone coming over here to work, foreigners, but they need to make it to where these companies cannot abuse it and hire cheap labor, because it's literally it's being reported across the board. Disney's done it, and they've done investigations, and these companies, these big tech companies, are hiring these foreigners and then replacing the American workers at half the cost of labor. Like, they're paying them far less than they would an American, because they don't want to pay decent wages. They want cheap labor. So I think they should it needs to be reformed, and they need to make it to where these companies cannot do that kind of shit. Like, they have to hire Americans first. If they can't, then they can hire in some foreigners. But other than that, no. You need to give these jobs to Americans first. Anyways, that's all I saw they were complaining about this past week. I want to get to you what I really want to talk to you about this week. So, I have been watching several shows. I'm working on several different shows that are kind of similar. However, there is one that it's going to take a little time, because it is an anthology series. The show is called Monsters. It's back in the 90s. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone, Night Gallery, all that kind of anthology series. So each one is its own separate story, each episode. And it's more based on horror. You may have a little sci-fi or something in there, and I'm going to do this and split it in 8 episodes each time I do this. So the first season I'll go through will be done in 3 rounds, because there's, like, I think 26 episodes for each season, and if they're individual stories, then I'm just gonna, I'm gonna split the seasons up into 3. Like, I'll do 8 episodes. I'll cover 8 episodes Then the next day, you get what I'm saying. Anyways, so the first season, and understand this show is the 90s had some really, really fucking cheesy ass shows. You know, 80s cheese was okay, but the 90s, it was, the CGI was just done really bad because they were experimenting with it and shit in the 90s. So a lot of your TV shows were just really redonkulous with the CGI and special effects and shit. So the stories might have been okay, but it was just executed really poorly. So the first episode of season 1 is called Fever Man, and basically what this guy, he's kind of like a Jewish community guy that's a healer or some shit. I don't think the community was Jewish. I'm not really sure, but it was like that, like a particular rabbi or some shit that could do like miracle shit. Anyways, he had this crystal that allowed him to pull sickness into a physical monster that he could fight out of a person that was, you know, beyond doctor's help. And he would pull out the disease, and then he'd physically fight the disease until he killed it, saving the person from the disease. Otherwise, if he didn't, the disease might kill him, or it would go back into the person. In the episode, there's this guy he's kind of a doctor, and he doesn't believe this guy can do what he says he can do. And then the guy who was doing it, he gets injured and he dies, and he turns over the crystal to this young doctor who takes over for him. It's okay. It's kind of cheesy, but it was all right episode. The second episode is called Holly's House, and you have this robotronic doll that this woman controls with like a I don't know, some kind of robotic suit or whatever. Well, the doll starts coming to life and going on a killing spree, and they have to get rid of the doll. Yeah, that episode wasn't very good at all. The third episode's called New York Honey. And basically, it's just about, all it is about this beekeeper who's in love with this beehive because the bee is the actual magical bee who can turn into a human. But she's deadly, you know, she's kind of like a black widow, you know, she kills her mate after she mates with him. And this one guy becomes infatuated with her that lives downstairs, and she ends up mating with him, killing him. That's the end of that. It was pretty dumb. The fourth one's called The Vampire Hunter. Basically, you have this old vampire hunter who nearly killed a particular vampire, and then the vampire wants revenge, so he gets some woman. I don't know if she's actually been bitten or she's a familiar, you know, she takes care of him during the day, but he uses her to lure the old vampire hunter's apprentice and tries to kill him to get revenge, but the old vampire hunter shows up and kills him instead. That's the end of that. The fifth one's called My Zombie Lover. And this is all blacks in this episode. Basically, you have a black family, and this little girl, teenage girl, black teenage girl, she's spoiled rotten. But there's this guy who died in her class like a year ago, who shows up, and he's a zombie, and he's in love with her, but then he tries to eat her, and then he doesn't. He's like, I don't know, it makes no sense. But something happens and she ends up getting killed. I can't remember exactly what. I can't remember if he killed her or not, but she becomes a zombie too. Now they have some weird thing where, whatever, I don't know if it's across the world or it's just in that town, but every year there's this, the dead rise, and the whole town has to deal with the dead for one night, and they try to keep themselves indoors from getting eaten by zombies, and then the next day everything's hunky-dory again. But it's like one time a year and they got to do it, and they kill the zombies if they have to, otherwise they don't mess with them. Anyways, at the end, the little boy causing all kinds of trouble. She has the girl has a brother, and then the parents decide to feed him to the zombies. It's fucked up. It's dumb. Number 6 is called Where's the Rest of Me? And you have Meatloaf starring in this. You'll see stars every now and then in these shows. Not huge stars, but like recognizable actors sometimes. Anyways, Meatloaf's in this one. And basically, he's a scientist who's figured out a way to prolong cadavers' lives, or their bodies, from like deteriorating, so he can harvest organs from them for his rich friends. Now he's in a territory, I don't know if they're in like South America or whatever, but they're in a territory where there's a rebel faction, and the government's fighting or whatever, and this cadaver was a rebel, but for whatever reason, this one idiot, he dumps the whole batch of the life serum or whatever the hell you want to call it, keeps the cadaver from completely dying, and he dumps it down into the tank that's pumping shit into this cadaver, and it causes the cadaver to start healing himself, and he starts going back up stairs to where they're all at and taking back his organs one by one from each one of the rich friends, including the doctor. That's the end of that one. The 7th one is called The Legacy. Basically, this guy buys this old antique like makeup kit from a so-called famous actor who can, kind of like Bela Lugosi, he can, do some wicked shit with makeup and make it look realistic and blah blah blah. Well, the spirit of the guy attaches itself to the box and causes the guy who bought the box to go nuts and kill people, and then he ends up possessing him and taking over his body, the ghost does. And then the 8th one, which will be the final one for this round, is called Sleeping Dragon. And basically it's by the way, the last episode was terrible. I really didn't like it. This one, Sleeping Dragon, some scientists find an old time capsule, or what they think is a time capsule, but what it is It's like a hibernation chamber for some type of lizard type race that might have been aliens from ancient times. It just never did open. Now it's open, and the alien gets out and he starts killing reptilian aliens, starts killing them all. And then one of the scientists gets the brilliant idea of freezing the damn thing, and the cold ends up killing the lizard, go figure, or reptile, whatever. And that's the end of that. It was okay. Most of these they're okay. They're cheesy, but they're okay, the stories. A couple of them I just didn't care for, really, like the doll and the makeup kit. Anyways, that's the first 8 episodes of the TV show called Monsters, and I'll do the next 8 when I get done watching another 8 episodes. Let's get on to your B-movie reviews. Alright, movie holics, this week is Action Week. And I chose a couple of early 2000 movies for action. I just figured, fuck it, I haven't done these yet. I might as well get them over with. The first one is the Bourne Identity. Now there's 4 of these, and I'll get to the next 2 next Action Week. I'm not doing Bourne Legacy with Jeremy Ryan because it has nothing to do, honestly, with Jason Bourne except for in namesake. Anyways, the Bourne Identity, the first one, was done in 2002. It roughly made around 215 million worldwide. It stars Matt Damon and Franca Potente. Hopefully that's how you spell or pronounce her name. Anyways, she plays the woman that he drags along into his mess. Basically, you have this guy who wakes up on a fishing boat because they pulled him in from the ocean. He looked like he was just floating in the water, and they pulled him in. He has amnesia. He doesn't know who he is or why he was in the water. None of that. He eventually later finds out he's part of an assassination program by the U.S. government called Treadstone. The Treadstone, the main guy who runs I don't think he's a senator or something, but he's pretty high up there. He tries to get him killed. He tries to take him out. They send a couple assassins after him, but it doesn't work. He ends up killing the other 2 assassins. He eventually, like I said, starts remembering towards the end. He drags the girl along with him, but she could have left him at any time. He tries to get rid of her like 2 or 3 times, and she just sticks with him. And that's a trope because, but it's actually pretty accurate. A lot of women, they will stick with the bad boy. They like the bad boy. They like being abused and crap by a piece of crap or piece of shit. But Matt Damon wasn't being a dick to her. He was trying to help her and get rid of her before they end up coming after her and killing her too. But she wouldn't listen. She wanted to stay with him and, you know, get beat up and shit. It's nuts. Anyways, he finally does get rid of her. Gets her to see reason. And she leaves. He tells Treadstone that she's dead or whatever, but it's not true. Anyway, he fixes it to where he thinks that they're not going to come after him again. But as you probably already know, they made a sequel because that didn't happen. So at the end of this one, everything seems like they're going their separate ways and they're leaving him alone. This movie's pretty good. I liked it. 2 thumbs up. Definitely check it out for an action flick. Now we move on to the second one, which is called the Bourne Supremacy. And it was done in 2004 and made roughly around $293 million. Now, Franca Potente is at the beginning of this, but she gets killed. The main female in this one is Joan Allen. Now you have the Nikki girl, Julia Stiles or whatever. She's in this too, but she's not in it very long. She's in it more than she was the first movie, but she's not in it that long. In this one, this Joan Allen, she becomes like the deputy director of, like, I don't know, Homeland Security or some bullshit like that. And there's an assassination of this Russian dude or some shit. I can't remember exactly. And she's investigating it. Well, the Russians set up Jason Bourne to take the fall. Like, they leave a clue, a fingerprint. Like, these guys don't make mistakes. They don't fuck up. He's not going to leave a fucking fingerprint. But she's all like, oh, it must have been Jason Bourne who did it. Let's go after him. So, yeah, basically, she leads a manhunt after Jason Bourne. And Jason ends up being a little bit smarter and ahead of her, and he starts investigating what's going on. He starts having flashbacks of a memory of a training session when of his pretty much first kill, which had nothing to do with the 2 Russians that were killed that she's after. Completely different. But he starts remembering his first kill, and it didn't go as planned, and he regrets it, kind of. But anyways, he uses the girl Nikki from the first movie to get information, and then he starts sending this woman who's now the director of whatever information on what's really going on and that he was set up. And then he finds the main guy, the old man who was in charge of Treadstone, who happens to be with her. but he gets him to confess it to what that it was all him, and he had a partner, a Russian partner, and he ends up giving him up. Jason records him and then sends it to her so she can make the arrest or whatever, blah blah blah. The old man shoots himself though, so he doesn't, before she arrests him. But they do eventually get the Russian guy who was involved. They were skimming money or some shit. I don't remember exactly what. But at the very beginning of the movie, the Russian assassin, who's actually Secret Service for Russia, which is played by Carl Yorick, I think is his last name. I can't remember. It's Carl something. Anyways, he killed his girlfriend at the beginning of the movie. So when he gets to Russia, he ends up killing him. He takes him out. And then she shows up in Russia and arrests the Russian guy. And then at the very end, she gives him his real name so he can go find out more about himself. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. But obviously there's two more, so we'll see what happens in the next two. I haven't watched the other two. I have watched these two before when they first came out, but I didn't watch the third one or the newer one that was done in 2019. This one was pretty good, a lot better than the first one, I thought. It was pretty good. I give it 2 thumbs up. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. Plenty of action. That's all I have for you this week. If you have any thoughts about what I talked about earlier in the video, please leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. If you think of any underrated or B movies you think I may never even heard of or seen, please leave your suggestions down in the comment section down below in the comment section, and I will get to reviewing them as soon as I can. So until next time, I told you be told the truth, and you've just been told.